And just this afternoon, the 2024 budget will be hinged heavily, as we know it, on the International Monetary Fund's release of the second tranche of the $600 million being expected to be released to the Republic of Ghana. But as the country's external creditors hold off on the approval of government's proposed debt restructuring, there is a fear that the release of that money will further delay. Government has proposed a 40% haircut on some $20 billion it intends to restructure, but the proposal is yet to be agreed on by the creditors, thereby stalling the approval of the IMF's board for the funds to be released. The fund's mission chief in Ghana, Stefan Rode, says that the board's conditions must be met first of all before the money will be released.
What is really needed at this stage is what we call financing assurances. The nature of those financing assurances, you will remember at the time of the program approval, was a general commitment from the official creditors to provide relief consistent with the program parameters. We are now at the first review and we need progress, and so we're moving from a general commitment to a specific credit commitment on the terms. Specific terms of the debt restructuring. And so what is needed at this stage is an agreement between the government and the OCC on those specific terms. For the external commercial creditors, based on the IMF policies, what is needed, it remains the same than what was needed at the time of the program approval, and it's just making sure that there is progress in the sense that the government continues to make good faith efforts with those external commercial creditors to reach to achieve a debt restructuring agreement that will be also consistent with the program parameters. Let me add that the agreement is subject to the approval of IMF management, and our executive board, once the necessary financing assurances have been received. An agreement with official creditors on the debt treatment in line with program parameters would provide these needed financing assurances. Once our executive board review is completed, Ghana would have access to another $600 million, bringing the total IMF financial support disbursed under the arrangement since May, when the program was approved, to about $1.2 billion.
And joining us now is Professor of Economics, Professor John Gachi, who's joining us to analyze the implications of this latest development. He's joining us via Zoom now. Also with us is Isaac Ofieje, who's looking closely at the figures for us. Just before I come to you, Professor Gachi, let's do a breakdown of what's happening in terms of the second tranche that we're expecting. The IMF had released a statement pointing out the conditions for which it will go ahead and release the funds, and subsequently there was a press briefing together with the government side. Yeah. Is it the case that we've not met all these conditions?
Right, so I am looking at the IMF Program Document right now, and if you go to page 45 of the program, there's a table 9 with the heading Ghana, Access and Facing Under the Arrangement 2023 to 2026. And this is contained in the IMF program. So subject to any review that has been done anywhere, this is what we know, and this is the information that is available in the public domain. So we know that the first disbursement has hit the account of Bank of Ghana already. We are expecting the second disbursement. The timeline that I'm seeing here in the IMF program is 1st November 2023, which is about 8 days ago. And these are the conditions that we have to meet: the observance of the end June 2023 performance criteria, and then also the completion of the first review. For the observance of the end June 2023, criteria, we've done most of them. That's a bingo for us. But what is currently the challenge is we successfully, being given that, tag that your first review is successful. Exactly, that's where we are. And that is the last condition we need to make sure that we get a second tranche. And who can give, the green light to say that you've completed the first review? It is only the executive board of the IMF. And why have they delayed? They have delayed because there's a condition, just like Stefan said, that we have to meet. And that condition is that we have to make sure we get actual, financing assurances from our, external creditors. So we know that there's a big space for us to fill with this debt relief that we are actually trying to get. And without the financing assurance from our external creditors, whatever money that the IMF will give us, they know will not be sufficient. And so they are urging us to complete or have the MOU signed with the commercial creditors, the bilateral creditors, before they go ahead to disburse that $600 million.
And I just hold on, let me bring in Professor Gachi on this issue, because Prof, I recall that when the German Chancellor was here, of course, the indication we got from the Germans were that obviously they were going to support the compact of the G20 with other African countries, and through that we're seeking to leverage and to ensure that we get some commitment, financial assurances. That will be happening, looking at the timeline, somewhere mid-November. And we've not cleared the hurdle of, dealing with China, which owes a greater part of the external debts that we're talking about now. So this means, and I'm just putting that to you to take your thoughts on that. This means technically that we have missed the timeline, and there's no way we can get that cleared out of the way until the end of the month.
True, and that is the communique. But where we are now, there seems to be some kind of segregation of creditors, bilateral and multilateral, which are somehow softer than the commercial creditors. How to get the commercial creditors to get a haircut of about 40% is where the difficulty lies. German Chancellor may give assurance because whatever Germany or other advanced countries gave to Ghana, and institutions such as IMF and the World Bank gave to Ghana, can be negotiated by the political force that the German Chancellor actually holds. But when it comes to commercial creditors, it's very difficult to do that because they invested based on some indicators. And if they are supposed to renege on their expectation, they must see something concrete that convince them to do so. And I'm sure they are not yet convinced. That is why we are today.
And looking at implications?
Well, the implication is very clear that if we don't have the second tranche before the end of the year, it will affect a lot of activity for the last quarter for the government. It may have effect on the performance of the currency. It may also have effect on the building up of reserve that we are seeing. So it has a dire consequence on the economy. And remember, when we have a slip in depreciation, that actually spelled a lot of doom and agitation across board. So it is very, very important that we meet the requirement and go along. And if we don't do that, I believe we have ourselves to be blamed.
How about alternatives now? Because I'm not sure it's all over for us. I'm sure that we can explore some intermediary or, very short-term solutions just to cushion the economy once we explore a long-lasting, check on this effect.
Well, I think government has been doing the best to increase domestic revenue, which is a key aspect of the program, and that is ongoing. And you cannot increase domestic revenue by putting policies in place to actually achieve your target within 1 year. It's a long haul. So that will be a continuous effort to achieve enhanced domestic revenue. We have also seen some multilateral supporters of the economy come back. We have seen the announcement of World Bank, what they are doing to focus on poverty alleviation and production. Those things are coming in some way. but we may not see the full envelope of revenue or the full envelope of monies that we need to galvanize the economy, to prop up the economy the way we expect it to be. So that is the difficulty we find ourselves in. And you cannot be engaging in a debt exchange program that will affect, those category of creditors we talk about, and at the same time expecting to go to them or for them to give you another tranche of credit. So these are the difficulties that the government find itself in due to some the way that we have managed the affairs over time.
And finally, what's your own projection as to how this is likely to go? And looking at what's happening now, what call would you want to make on the finance ministry or perhaps the president in terms of what the policy consideration should be now?
Well, I think there's no need to make any projection because we have passed already the point of expectation, because all the announcement regarding external debt exchange agreement were not met. All the information they gave us, those information turned out not to be the reality. So we only wait as and when it comes through, then we believe. I don't think that we should be believing something that is not concretized. I
see. Professor Gachi, thank you for spending some time with us here on The Pulse. Grateful. And of course, Isaac Ofieje is wrapping up for us. So what's, the next step in terms of what the IMF is telling us now as to the only condition for which these funds will be released?
Yeah, so I've been studying the, staff level approval and then also the first review document, how the IMF couch, the statements around 3 countries where we have Ghana and Zambia. Both countries are doing debt restructuring. There's Ivory Coast, who's also, having an IMF program without a debt restructuring. Now, if you read the staff statement, the review, the final statement that was released by the IMF, you realize that in the case of Ivory Coast, they do not condition the disbursement on any form of reaching an agreement. But if you look at Ghana and Zambia, they say we are done with the staff level review, but actual disbursement or approval will depend on your ability to actually have restructuring process with your creditors. Currently, just like you asked, Prof, what are the alternatives? Yeah. So we know that we are in November. Last year around this time, October, we had that $1.3 billion of cocoa syndicated loan hitting the account of government. But what we know is that currently there's been some sort of delay, and how the amount we are even expecting from the cocoa syndicated loan is less. We are expecting 800 million compared to that 1.3 billion we received last year. And we know the delay is as a result of, creditors not really trusting that government could pay back, because mind you, Cocoa Board has already defaulted on cocoa bills, which are actually held in local currency. So if you defaulted on loans in your local currency, how much more loans that you are actually taking in dollars or in foreign currency? So we are only hoping and praying that probably the engagements going on today, tomorrow, will have the IMF, or will have the creditors giving us the assurance we need for us to unlock that additional 600 million.
All right, Isaac, thank you so much for spending some time with us and explaining the implications for the economy. We'll keep watching the space and waiting on a statement, obviously, that might come through from government shortly, because we understand that they are closely monitoring the situation.
And there's some sort of engagement. Sure. Absolutely.
Well, what do we know about it?
So we know that government is actually engaging creditors, and we are hoping that by close of maybe this month or even this week, we should have some MOU signed with the bilateral guys. The difficult aspect, just like Prof said, has been with the commercial creditors, because you're asking them to forgo 30 to 40% of their principal, and you're additionally also asking them to give you up to 5%, not more than 5% haircut on interest. Mind you, Ghana is not the only country requesting debt relief from these commercial creditors. And so other countries are watching. That's why they are very careful, because if you go ahead to give Ghana 40% haircut, other people also come also requesting for the same magnitude or a magnitude closer to that. And so they are very careful how they'll go about this whole thing. And mind, they also know that election is also at the corner, 2024. And so what if we give government all this 10.5 billion fiscal space they need now, and things go wrong? How sure are we that they will not come back to us asking? So I'm sure they are tackling it bit by bit, making sure that they give the assurance for each fiscal year and not probably give it in a cumulative term or, in grand total.
Is it grateful? And of course, we'll follow up and give you some updates on this matter. So now we talk about some more issues relating to health, for instance, especially when it comes to the renal dialysis unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. It's coming up shortly as the Minister for Health has been addressing Parliament today. I will tell you what's been happening and what's been the reaction from MPs. Please stay. We'll be back. We stay on the economy. Joining us now is the President of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, commenting now on the status of the economy. Dr. Joseph Obeng is President of the group, joining us via Zoom. Thank you, sir, for speaking to us today. We've just had the news about, what's likely to happen. We're not making progress in terms of getting specific assurances from our creditors. How worrying is that to, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, knowing that already you say that you're reeling under the effects of the economy?
Yeah, definitely, as we all know, we need confidence by the investor community, and then we need to stabilize the currency. And then the first tranche of the IMF deal supported a lot in this direction. I think we should be able to proceed on the same length if we can be able to sustain the little gains that we have gotten. And so it is quite worrying if we are not getting through this through our creditors. Yeah.
In the last few days, we've seen your members, the traders, also react and protest over what they describe as the harsh effects of this economic meltdown on their businesses. As leadership of the group, is there anything more you haven't done yet that you plan to do? Because we've seen you close your shops, there's been demonstrations, you've spoken to government, you've also held news conferences on how the economy appears to be ailing as we see it to be. What more do you intend to do about this?
Yeah, we are businessmen. The worst that comes our way is to pass on the cost to the consuming public. And that's whatever thing that we do, the agitations that we make, normally we do not take because we want to enrich ourselves or to maximize our profit, but it's because we are also consumers of other products, and that we also feel the heat the same way our customers also feel the heat when they buy our goods. And the other thing is that you can also not keep on piling the cost to the consuming public, knowing that the purchasing power have gone down through the inflation. So when that happens, you cannot turn over, and it also worries you. So then we still have to go and engage with government, and we still push the agenda forward for government to pull down on the taxes. And we have done that perfectly. And we are expecting that government responds positively to this request. And that government do not even have any option. But they should do that because it will help the larger economy. That's, we said that tax to GDP in the sub-region, ours is the least. It's because we pay the highest taxes and numerous taxes here, as against the affordable taxes being paid by our contemporaries, because then compliance is assured. Tax, as we talk about, is about compliance. And so we have been engaging government. We've gotten the opportunity to talk with the finance ministry, and we've made it clear that they should prune the taxes so that businesses can have some respite to grow. Because excessive taxation, high cost of doing business, impedes on growth of businesses. As the government itself understand. That's why they say that we have to move from taxation to production. And so it is very important going forward, the 2024 budget, they listen to all the pleas that we've given.
Yeah, I was just about going there because that budget statement will be laid on the floor of the House in a couple of days away from now. What's your expectation on some of the reforms you would want to see? Last year or earlier this year, that back and forth emerged in the media space. We saw you having some key policy differences with the Ministry of Finance on what should be done. After the rounds of engagements, are you confident that the new proposals that you've tabled will be enforced by government?
Yeah, when they were engaging with the IMF, they took decisions and they never engaged with us. And that was very worrying. That's why they imposed those 3 obnoxious taxes on us. Now, the government itself have sat down with us and we've enumerated all our problems to them. And we are very certain that they are going to prune down on the taxes because they don't have any option. Because that's the only way that will resurrect the dying businesses. And so we are very positive that this time around they will listen and then take off some taxes like the COVID levy. It's a 1% that came to help solve a problem, and the problem is no more there. So it's illegitimate to perpetuate it on us. That also the special import levy of 2% that was brought by the previous administration that after the sunset, they will take it off. It has become a tax in perpetuity. We have to prune down all these taxes so that businesses can actually survive in this country. And so the VAT, as it is structured now, until 2021, we are paying flat free.
Well, Doc, we seem to be.
It was very affordable and conducive for compliance. And Hello?
Doc, I hope you can hear me. We lost you briefly. If you could just, take that last point for me again.
So what I'm saying is that the VAT also, as it is structured, is not helping compliance. And that until year 2021, we are paying the flat rate.
Yes, go ahead, Doc.
It assured compliance. But as it were now, hello?
Yes, Doc, just go ahead. We can hear you now.
As it were now, the tax act is structured now. It's 3 forms. The standard rate of 22%, the flat rate of 4%, and by virtue of the threshold of 200,000, there are some people who are also not captured into the tax payment. So it's creating a lot of problems in the marketplaces. That's why you see us fighting with the GRA when they want to come and do invigilation, because it's not practical. Also.
Right.
Whilst we are looking also on pruning down on expenditure. Because let me ask you a question. Why is it that for the past couple of years, about 5 years, we are exceeding our revenue target? If we are exceeding our revenue target, why is it that we are always also saying that we are in problem? It means that our expenditure pattern is higher and above the revenue that we are able to give to the government. So we have to prune down on our expenditure pattern. Otherwise, whatever amount that we get, if you overspend it, we say that is inadequate. The tax is inadequate. And so the taxes are also being recycled along just a few of us, recognizing few businesses who otherwise had the possibility of growth. But because of excessive taxation, we are all heading for bankruptcy, and that it is not in our interest. We are not also competitive in the sub-region at all, as I've been always been saying, because and we are in competition with the rest of the West Africa, or for that matter, Africa, because of the continental free trade area. So if you want to industrialize, that's in our quest to have the 1D, 1F, and then to be self-sufficient, and then we also say import substitution. We cannot achieve all these things when we have overpriced our industrialization. So, the overall slice of government.
Dr. Joseph,
down on the taxes, fund innovative ways to expand. Fund innovative ways to expand the tax net, so that we can.
Apologies there. It appears that we're having some, serious challenges with the connection to Dr. Joseph Obing, who has shared, some points about what government should consider in terms of moving the economy forward. We'll definitely keep watching the space and bring you some updates. But we take you to Parliament now because the Lands and Forestry Committee, as well as the Mines and Energy Committees, have been tasked by the House to look into the salt mining contract awarded to Electro Ghana Limited and advise the House on the possibility of allowing the local people mine alongside the company. A shooting incident in the Greater Accra region left one person dead and several others injured. The incident is reportedly rooted in the feud between Electro Ghana Limited and residents of Ada. MP for Sege Christian Clotte, who delivered a statement on the floor of the House about the incident, asked Parliament to investigate the disturbances and also push to allow the Indigenes of Ada to benefit from the natural resources in their land.
It is extremely alarming that these hardworking individuals who are simply trying to make a living have become targets of violence. Mr. Speaker, the reports I received indicated that the residents were in their designated salt mining sites, a long-held sources of livelihood since 1960s. And all of a sudden, a team of young men from Electro Company and a police patrol team appear at the scene and try to seize their working tools, which resulted in firing of gun shots, killing one of them. The salt winners play vital roles in our local economy and should not have to live in fear while carrying out their work. Mr. Speaker, I further call upon the House to refer this unfortunate incident to the Defense and Interior Committee to probe these endless brutalities and make its finding known to the House. It is essential that we create an environment where every citizen can feel safe and secure.
For her part, the MP for Comforts Dokuu, whose constituency also affected by the violence, made a passionate appeal to the owner of Electro that's Daniel Macaulay, popularly known as Magdan, to allow Indigenes to mine the salt alongside his company.
He has been allocated a place, allocated from Malabu to work there. Mr. Speaker, we can say we don't want investors, but my view is when you go to Ashanti region and there is land for gold, we also have that sort as white gold. And in the Ashanti region, they didn't give the whole allocation to Ashanti gold. There was space for the other people to do galamsey. Mr. Speaker, Somolagu, even our galamsey does not pollute water. They should give a space for some of the indigenes so that they can also work to bring peace. Madam can also work. The indigenes too should work.
And the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Owusu, directed two committees of the House to look into the salt mining contract awarded to Electro and whether it will be viable to renegotiate and allow locals to also mine. He also ordered Interior Minister Ambrose Derry to brief the House on the violence that claimed the life of one person in the community.
But I think the more critical issue is what is being raised by the Honourable Member for Ada. The natural resource is supposed to be for the state. But here are Indigenes living by this natural resource, feeding on it. Yes, it belongs to the state, but the state says I'm giving it to somebody else without regards to these other Indigenes. That's why I've been looking at the Constitution, how we can look at. I'll direct the Minister for Interior to brief the House about the incident, how violence came to be perpetrated in that, who shot into the crowd, whether the police or the security of the private company. The Minister of Interior should brief the House on that one. After that brief, if there's a need for the Committee of Defense and Interior to look further, we will give the appropriate directions. But I suggest that, I don't know whether it lands and natural resource and mines and energy, to look at the whole leasehold agreement again and investigate and advise the House whether it is practicable to renegotiate and leave out some portion for the Indigenes, and whether, if that is done, whether that will affect the viability of the business or not. If not, advice.
Well, joining us on phone now is Bernard Tete, Chief Operating Officer of Electro. Thank you, sir, for your time here on the poll. So let's get to it. Parliament considering, a joint committee meeting on what happened within the community near your property. And also the suggestion and the move by some of the MPs is that you cede away a portion of your leased property to allow Indigenes to also carry out their mining activity. Is that something you would welcome as Electrochem on, the calls already going on within the House?
Yes, so thank you for the opportunity. So I think I would like to state that as a company, we favor the communities as well in everything that we do. So as a company, we have an internal policy where every community that's around the places where we have our operations, we create community crystallizing plants also for them. So wherever we create our commercial plants to produce salt, we create some for the community. And even as we speak now, there are about 3 or 4 communities that are already benefiting from this community arrangement. And so the idea that is being sent out as if Electrochem is here to take everything for itself and not get anything to the community, I believe that is some faulty. Yes, we have factored the community in everything we do, so that as we are producing our salt, they also have a chance to also do it. Unfortunately, the incident that didn't happen, the area where the issue happened is an area where we were doing construction work that will benefit both us and also the community. Choflopo area is a place where we've already created about 10 crystallizing plants. Each plant has a size of about 5 to 10 acres. And we're clearing the place so that we create reservoirs to put in brine that we can feed their community plants also with. So it's an area, so we factor the community in everything we do. So we do not go with the idea that their concession should be renegotiated. Everything is going on well. They are operating, and as a responsible mining company, we have factored in the community and whatever.
Are you willing to appear before Parliament to, supply any additional information just to clear the air on this matter?
Yes, I believe management will sit and then make a decision on. And then I think we also have to state. I also have to state that the activities that, as a company, we are against are those who are mining illegally in the concession. Right. It's just like it's typical for any mining concession, gold mining concession that are given. There are standard ways of operation for the way every mine should operate. And for a salt mine as ours, we also have ours as well. And I mean, the concession belongs to the government. And so it legally gives it to any company that it deems fit to manage. And for us, we've been given that 50 years. We have partners in the community in our operations so that they can also mine legally within our concession. And there are plans for that are underway. If you look at the Minerals Act 703, salt has been classified as a mineral. So just like gold or bauxite or any other mineral, it falls under the government and it can give to any company. But then our issue is that if anybody wants to mine within the concession, we are open to an agreement. Come, let's find out how we can do so legally within the boundaries of the law. And we have made arrangements for that. And so what we are against are those who are mining inside the lagoon itself, which is even against another person. Those who are mining or who are putting tarpaulin materials in the areas where the design are supposed to undergo construction work for proper soils, to be produced in ways where both we as a company and also they as a community can all benefit from. So as a company, we embrace the community. And if you come around and you do research, you find that there are a number of people who are actually in support of what we are doing for them because they understand what we're doing. So I think as a company, we are planning to intensify our engagement. We have been doing that, but we're trying to intensify that together with all the other stakeholders, Minerals Commission, and all the other state agencies. They have been coming around to assist us in this. But I think we intensify that so that they all buy into the idea and get to understand that we are not here to take their livelihood away from them. But we are here legally, and although we are here legally, we do not want to enjoy the benefits alone, but then we have them in our policies. They are a part of what we do here. So we intend to find that in this.
Okay, grateful. Bernard Tetteh is Chief Operating Officer for Electro. The Nature and Development Foundation is leading another round of civil action targeted at getting government to repeal the Environmental Protection Mining in Forest Reserves Regulation LI 2462, which allows unfettered access into Ghana's forest reserves. The group today held a dialogue based on a legal opinion which is pointing out some major gaps in this very law, which environmentalists are suggesting could be detrimental to the protection of Ghana's forest reserves. We'll be speaking to 2023 PAV and Research Analyst of the Year, Rasta Sari Donko, who was at this very forum. But just before we get into that, just listen to lawyer Clement Ame, who from the Taylor Crab initiative, point out some of the concerns that the group has with this very airline.
This law was passed on the blind side of everybody. But what do you see wrong with this particular law legally?
Well, from the stakeholders that we've interacted with, those who ordinarily work in this sector, they appeared they had very little or no knowledge about the processes leading to the passage of this regulation. What this regulation sets out to do is very interesting. I mean, to permit mining in forest reserves. I mean, clearly, forest reserves are designated areas where we have put aside, and clearly one of the activities you cannot do there is mining. So the main thing I see is that it's a law that goes against, the primary principles of setting up forest reserves. So that if we do not want to have these forest reserves as forest reserves any longer, then we should go through the right processes to de-gazette it. Otherwise, you see the confusion in the law. Who is regulating it? Is it the EPA that regulates it? Is it the Minerals Commission that regulates this activity, or the Forestry Commission? But the law is clear on the mandates of all these institutions. The Forestry Commission has been given mandate under the Forestry Commission Act to regulate and protect the forest. So if you are now allowing mining in the forest reserve, it comes against the mandate of the Forestry Commission. But if it is no longer a forest reserve, then the Forestry Commission is not conflicted. So we need to be clear on what we want. If we want to keep these areas as forest reserves, then we should. If we don't, let's follow the right process and not, because the law actually is bringing a lot more confusion, and it will make the situation that we're having right now with illegal mining and all sorts of things happening in the mining sector worse if we don't take steps to
You have described as incongruous.
Yes.
And other things, in fact, in 3 thematic areas. Tell me, what is wrong with this law?
Clearly, it is a law to protect the environment, but it's a law to mine in forest reserve. It doesn't add up. So, if it's a law to protect the environment when it comes to mining in forest reserves, this law should have actually been the law that prevents and puts restrictions and makes it extremely difficult to even get permission to go close to any forest reserve. But that's not the case here. It looks like it is now become a permitted activity, and because it's a permitted activity, then let's have regulations to do it and set up committees to regulate it. That's the key thing I have. And whether or not this law should even be led by the EPA. And finally, whether using a legislative instrument for a very sensitive issue like this is the way to go. This should have been done by an act of parliament, so that we have our members of parliament debate this, and then when they agree with it, they pass it, but not through legislative instruments where the passage is less rigorous as opposed to passing a bill into an act of parliament. So these are my issues. And also the penalty regime, the offences. The penalties are very weak compared to what we have in existing law. So what are we trying to achieve? So we need to look at all these things. And these are the preliminary comments we have on the LI as passed. Yeah.
Do you sense something fishy, as if it is to serve the interest of somebody?
So it's actually not about sensing something fishy. It appears that there is a certain activity of mining already going on in our forest reserves, and maybe in an attempt to find a way of regularizing it, this law is passed. But that is not the way to go. I'm saying that the question of setting aside a forest estate as a forest reserve is a very important issue. We didn't just create these forest reserves. A certain process was gone through and was put aside for certain purposes. We are now talking about climate change. We are talking about our commitments under the NDCs. We've done all these things, and now we are allowing mining in all our forest reserves. It cannot be possible.
Unfortunately, Erastus Donko is joining us in studio. It's been a long day for Erastus because he's been at this stakeholder dialogue on this very law that we're talking about. And congratulations once more, Erastus, for, of course, the hard work you've done. Well deserved. And, of course, we must commend you for this. But you're keeping up the fight. And that's what I like about this. Now looking at some of the aspects of our legal regime and the laws that are touching the, fight against illegal mining. Let's start off with this very law that, civil society and even you, I believe, have some concerns with. What's this very law that we're referring to?
So it's the LI 2462. It's supposed to protect our forest reserves. And so somehow it's supposed to be a better option than the environmental guidelines we used to have previously. But if you look critically, just like the lawyer is saying at this particular regulation, you find out it has lesser punishment when it comes to violation of environmental laws and other things if you go into the forest to commit any crime, as compared to existing laws that we do have. And it is also opening up even protected forest for mining. So for example, it says in there that in the interest of the public, the president can even de-gazette some of the protected forests, GSB areas,
really?
Globally significant biodiversity areas for mining in the interest of the public.
A very enormous power to give to
and so that's what he talks about, that it defeats the purpose of protecting. If you're protecting something, then you are calling in for stiffer sanctions, even for people who are trying to get into protected forest and even production
and
forest.
just for clarity, is this replacing all other forms of, the regulatory regimes that we have in the past, or it's supposed to complement what's already there?
Again, that is what the lawyer, I'm not a lawyer, but that's what the lawyer seeks to talk about, that is the contradiction that he finds, because then we have other existing legislations that deal with certain things in there. So there was no need at all for this to come in. So it looks like mining is happening already, which of course is happening. Many of the forest reserves have been given out for mining. Yesterday I got some videos and pictures from the Seshi area, between Seshi Debiso and another town in that area, the Kokuswa Forest Reserve, which of course people have invaded and now destroying. So before the LI was even set up, records indicate that there were only 3 mining operations in production forest reserves. 3.
Yes.
Now, since November 2022, when the law came into effect, 8 new mining licenses have been granted to mine in forest reserves, including globally significant biodiversity areas. These are protected areas where you find rare tree species that you cannot find anywhere, and they are supposed to be protected. Now, they've all been given out for mining. And we have Draw River Forest Reserve and GSBA, which has been given out to Better Land Ghana Limited, covering as much as over 84% of the forest itself. We have New South Forest Reserve and GSBA is being given to Capsule Mining Limited, covering 18% of that particular forest. Bointano in Samraboy Forest Reserve and GSBA, which has been given to Unipower Mining Company Limited. So 8 of them. And we don't know, maybe even Kakum National Park will come up for mining.
Which means that technically the law gives, the power to an individual to decide as and when you could go into a forest reserve.
Exactly. And before, all these areas were protected. All GSBA areas were protected. Simply out of. And even you heard the last minister talk about it previously, that forest reserves are no-go areas. They are red zones. But now, the law that is supposed to further protect the forest is now opening up even the protected forest for mining, which spells a doom for all of us going into the future.
Erastus, the question about possibly a review or repealing everything that we've put up in this piece of legislation, what was it looking like that CSO appeals more to? Is it the case that they feel, well, let's just take this off the books, go back to the drawing board, and bring something completely new, instead of just trying to fix what we have now?
So that's what CSOs have been talking about. And for example, this particular stakeholder engagement talked about that. Why don't we call for a repeal of this law? Because it's in bad taste. If you look at it compared to those who really want to protect the forest. If we really want to protect our forest reserves, then we have to repeal this law or amend it. Because as we speak with them, they say that the danger is that if this law exists, in future, somebody could go and amend it and say, including, say, national parks. And who knows, it will be given out for mining. And currently, even as we speak, we are finding illegal miners penetrating many of these forest reserves already, even before they are given out. You go to Tano Nimre. Now, if you see the extent of devastation, we came from there about 3 months ago. You see the devastation. After Akonta mining entered, more illegal miners have entered. Now, the Samatex company, which relies and manages this forest reserve for centuries, is now spending this entire money trying to fight illegal miners in the forest. You go to Kokusua Forest Reserve, as I've told you, illegal miners have entered. Even at Tiwa Forest, we went there and you saw that illegal miners have encroached a portion of it and are already mining into it. So it shows clearly that we are not adding importance or urgency to saving these natural resources.
And just to wrap up on this conversation, because I believe the dialogue is not over, you would definitely be monitoring some of the conversations going on. But what's the overall picture in terms of what is likely to happen, if we allow this law to remain on our books? What's the potential danger here?
So we're going to mine all our forest reserves. If you look at this one, the Draw River Forest Reserve, the Draw River Forest Reserve and GSBA, and here it is ML 2/236, given to Better Land Ghana Limited, covering as much as 84% of the forest. So the entire forest will be gone. And that is what is going to happen to all our forest reserves. It means that even...
and someone is sitting at home saying, well, that's speculation.
No, that's not speculation. It's on the website.
It will not be given to all.
This is on the website of the Forestry Commission.
Right.
So it's there. It's not something that we are making up. Yeah. All these things are there.
84.
84%. And so I think that we should be very careful the way we are treading. Already, if you look at the Pamprama Forest Reserve, it's almost gone. And people go in with prospecting licenses under the guise of prospecting for gold, which you don't even, the law does not allow you to use heavy equipment, but you find people using excavators to dig and mine the entire forest. So we are destroying all our natural resources, even the water source that are within this forest. And mind you, what we have seen as a trend is that whenever you go to the forest and they are mining, they mine blindly, and they believe that the mineral deposit sits within the wet areas. And so they destroy the water source within the forest itself, the very lifeblood of the forest. And I think we should take extra caution the way we are treading.
Erastus, thank you for joining this conversation. In fact, we all need to join hands with Erastus and just to sustain this fight against illegal mining. And also we're of course, looking at a possible review of that law or LI which has been passed. You're watching The Pulse on the Joint News channel. When we get back, the Health Minister is appearing in Parliament today, answering questions on the renal dialysis unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We'll tell you what he's been talking about when he arrived in Parliament today. Welcome back. The Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has called for a closer diplomatic relations between Ghana and Czech Republic to boost trade and help create jobs in the public and private sector of both countries. Receiving the highest foreign leader at the Jubilee House since his election as flag bearer of the governing New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia also made a strong case for why the landlocked Central European country should invest in Ghana's defense and security architecture. Latif Idris was there and comes through with this report.
In an opening statement ahead of the bilateral talks and press briefing here at the Jubilee House, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia urged his Czech counterpart to consider closer trade relations with Ghana. He also made the case for why Czech Republic should be interested in fortifying Ghana's security architecture to boost trade and businesses within the West African nation.
What we have been seeing increasingly, even though it's small steps, the trade relationship also is improving between our two countries, and we want to see more in that direction so that the private sector can benefit from this increase in relation that we are seeing between Ghana and the Czech Republic. We just want to emphasize that Ghana is a good place to do business. We are the most peaceful country in West Africa. We are the second most peaceful country in Africa. And so it's very, very important for anybody interested in Africa to consider Ghana as really the place for doing business. And that piece comes with security. And so we are very, very interested in making sure that we have the security to preserve the peace. And I think that our cooperation with the Czech Republic in the security area is also something that we're very, very keen on.
The visiting Czech Republic Prime Minister Peter Fiala concurred with the Vice President on the need for closer trade relations. He even wants more.
We should do more.
Absolutely.
And I am accompanied by a trade delegation, very strong trade delegation. There are companies from different fields like agriculture, healthcare, security and defense. I took a part at Ghana Czech Business Forum, and I think there are really new possibilities for our cooperation, not only in business but also at the political level. Last year visited your country my first deputy, Minister of Interior Vít Rakušan, and it shows also that we start new chapter in.
As host of the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia capitalized on that and called on the Czechs and the larger European Union to invest in Ghana for easy access to the African market.
So we, as you know, are the host, the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, an agreement that has established the largest trade area in the world. The largest in the world, 55 countries, 1.3 billion people, and a GDP of 3.4 trillion US dollars. So if you want to invest in Africa, I think the mantra is to come to Ghana, and then Ghana will be your gateway into the rest of Africa. So I want to encourage the business delegation that they should come in and invest in Ghana, and they will have access to a broader African market.
Czech Republic exports to Ghana hit some $22.4 million in 2022, according to the United Nations database. It remains to be seen how this historic visit by Peter Fiala would change the course of relations between both countries going forward. Latif Idris, Joy News, the Jubilee House, Accra, Ghana.
And back in the studio, the Ghana Journalists Association is this afternoon serving notice. The association would not shield journalists who engage in unprofessional acts ahead of the 2024 general elections, as the association, in collaboration with the U.S. Embassy, is launching a project dubbed Journalists for Peaceful Discourse to train journalists on elections reporting.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Journalists for Peaceful Discourse is a 12-month project that provides the opportunity to uphold the tenet of press freedom and freedom of expression while promoting professionalism and empowering the media and related entities to contribute to violence-free and credible polls next year. It is also an opportunity to exchange knowledge and foster an environment conducive to discussions on safeguarding freedom of speech and building strong electoral and democratic institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, the objective of this endeavor is to safeguard the freedom of the press while advancing credible and violence-free elections via peaceful media platforms before, during, and after the 2024 presidential and parliamentary election. As we all know, participation is the foundation of a credible election, and participation necessitates that individuals are free to express themselves without fear of intimidation and make well-informed decisions. Freedom of expression does not only mean allowing people to speak, but also ensuring responsibility. Indeed, findings of a GJ-NMC media monitoring during the December 7, 2020 elections aimed at contributing to peaceful and credible polls revealed that incitement on media platforms topped types of violence perpetrated during the election. This is the reason why I keep admonishing media practitioners and institutions to be very professional in the discharge of their duties. I want to reiterate that the GJ does not and will not condone unprofessional conduct. We will not shield or provide cover for defiance of professionalism. As mentioned in my address at the 27 GJ Awards, in the coming days or weeks, we shall roll out a monitoring mechanism based on which we shall call out media practitioners and institutions that lower the bar of professionalism.
And on the part of the U.S. Embassy, who are the implementing partners of this project, the press attaché in Ghana, Kevin Brosanen, underscored the importance of skilled journalists in peaceful elections as he pledged the support of the U.S. Embassy for training journalists.
Press freedom is critically important to ensuring that Ghana's democracy is accountable to its people. Journalists, as you know, have an important role to play in reporting on corruption, human rights, governance, and peace and security. In the past few years, several countries in the region have experienced coups and other forms of democratic backsliding. Even in Ghana, we saw attacks on journalists and their reporting just last month at UTV and City News. Well-trained, well-prepared, and well-protected reporters are never more important than when a country holds elections. Elections always challenge democratic institutions, but resilient democratic institutions rise to that challenge. The U.S. Embassy and the GJA are long-term partners. We've worked together for many years to defend press freedom and to provide resources and training for Ghana's journalists. And this next year will be no different. We'll support GJA's regional training for journalists to improve their fact-based reporting on elections, help fight election myths and disinformation, and support high-quality public information related to the elections. You, as journalists, are an essential connection between important information and the public. You can use your voice to empower people to vote based on their informed individual opinions. You can ensure voters have full fact-based information to make their ultimate choice. You can ensure voters have complete information on how to register and ultimately vote in free and fair elections. Only free, professional, and responsible journalists can do that.
And it's been almost 2 years since 18-year-old Godfred Adu stepped foot in the classroom. A severe pain in his waist is impeding his mobility. This is because his two limbs are wearing out as a result of a sickle cell condition. Godfred currently moves about bended over his knees at 90 degrees. He does this with both hands clutched to his two knees like an aged man. His father said a total of some 100,000 Ghana cedis is needed for his son to undergo surgery. MFR Atiamwa early visited Godfred in the central region and now reports.
Far away in the heart of Isioko, a hamlet in the Isikuma Odobim-Brakwa districts of the central region, Godfred is seated on a wooden bench in front of his father's hut. His yellowish eyes are evidence of the anguish his body is enduring. In the same eyes, I see an anxiety for him to be relieved of the excruciating pain which has held him bound and far from his dreams of an enthusiastic teenager who just wants to be in school with his peers.
I'm Godfred. I'm 18 years old. I'm sick. I can't walk.
How better could I tell his story if I don't appreciate his pain? So, with great difficulty, Godfred struggles to get off the bench on which we sat together to demonstrate how he moves about. Firmly holding onto his two knees with both hands to support his posture, he manages a few steps to reach the drying line to pick up some clothes into the room. But when and how did he get here?
I'm in school and I get some pains in my waist, and I call my father to come and take me from school to hospital, and I come home and I can't walk again.
His father, Joseph Edu, a farmer, told me Godfred was diagnosed of sickle cell after seeing the doctor 2 years ago. Both hips are wearing out and cannot support him to stand straight as before. He keeps bending over as a result. Mr. Edu said Godfred's condition is worsening by the day because of the family's inability to raise 100,000 Ghana cedis for him to undergo surgery.
They transfer us to Koforidua to make surgery. So when we went there, the cost is very high, so we can't do the surgery. So unless the people help us to do the surgery.
How much is the cost of the surgery? What did the hospital tell you?
The doctor said they will do both sides, the waist, both sides. So one side is 500 million. So both sides is 1 billion.
Godfred was informed too at Ejumaku Mandu SHS when he fell sick. He wants to become a medical doctor in future.
They should help me to get money to help to do surgery to help myself to walk.
He currently lives on a prayer for that intervention to enable him undergo the life-saving surgery. Amafa Ewenam Atiamwa Eli. For Joy News, it's your call.
Health Minister Kwaku Agyeman-Manu has told Parliament approval has been given by Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to pay 4 million cedis to the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital to clear debt owed its suppliers of consumables. The outpatients department of the renal unit was closed for months, with 19 renal patients dying during the period. The hospital refused to comply with the order to open the unit for almost a week due to a debt crisis. According to Kwaku Agyeman-Manu, the debt is set to be settled to allow the hospital to operate without a challenge. Kwaku Agyeman-Manu also informed MPs government is backing Korle Bu Teaching Hospital to renegotiate its contract with a South African firm which has a monopoly over the supplies.
Korle Bu has accrued a total debt of a little over 4 million Ghana cedis to its partner. Furthermore, it remains a fact that the current charge of 380 cedis for dialysis is insufficient to enable the RDU to generate enough revenue to fulfill its full obligations under the contract with FMC, especially as it does not have a hedged exchange rate per annum regime. This has compromised the ability of the RDU to raise the funds required to pay for consumables procured from FMC promptly. Mr. Speaker, again, due to the high incidence of patients requiring dialysis, the total cost of care keeps rising, adding to the accumulation of debt. Mr. Speaker, it must be noted that currently patients on dialysis are not on the National Health Insurance Scheme. Mr. Speaker, the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, in consultation with the Minister of Health, has initiated discussions with FMC for review of the current contract for more flexible payment options and a more structured supply of consumables to avoid excessive delays and to ensure delivery
of the outstanding 45 dialysis machines and auxiliary equipment to boost the service being rendered. Mr. Speaker, in the meantime, the RDU has been opened to the public since Monday, 6 November 2023, to add patients as directed by the ministry. The MOH has since made a request to the Ministry of Finance to settle the total indebtedness of the 4 million Ghana cedis. And the good news now is that the Minister for Finance has just approved the disbursement of this 4 million to support our patients in Korle Bu.
On the minority side, the Honorable Muntaka Mubarak has been reacting to the issue about dialysis crisis in the country.
Problem at Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, I see it as leadership failure. I see it as government not being responsible for the health of the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, all I'm saying is that there's no priority for the health of the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, go through the statement. Apart from what the minister is proposing now in terms of policy, we haven't seen government intervention in this instance, apart from what FMC that has donated dialysis machines to Korle Bu, and the First Sky Group that has taken it up to offer free services for renal patients. Before now, I don't see, or the minister has not demonstrated or shown us what government has done so far until now. We cannot have a situation where the whole government comes in only when there's crisis.
If you take, for example, the fees and charges that we gave, 380, yes, over the period, there may be some challenges, exchange rate difficulties, but Comforts is operating with the same 380, and they've not closed the unit. Yes, I will agree, Comforts has, I think, about 10 machines, but largely you go and you have between 2 to 8 that are working at a time. But Comforts is operating with that. If you go to Brekum, where you have the Catholic hospital, even though this house gave a fees and charges of 380, Mr. Speaker, they are charging 350. They are charging 350, and they are able to operate. Now, when you go to the private facilities in Kumasi, we have about 4. The one that I remember very well is what we call KNUSC Teaching Hospital, and then is it God is Love, another private facility. Mr. Speaker, they are charging 500. Remember those who are charging 500, who are private facility, they pay their nurses, they pay their specialists, they buy their consumables, they do all that, and they charge 500 as private facility. Now you come to Korle Bu, where it is the state that is paying for the specialists, the state that is having the the infrastructure and all the nurses and all of that. They are making us believe that the only way Korle Bu unit can operate is to charge up to about 900. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy the minister himself acknowledged that that contract with FMC needs to, they are looking at it. That is where the problem of Korle Bu starts.
And there's been calls for NHIS to absorb the treatment cost for kidney issues, but the financial issues of the scheme have come up as NPP MP and also former health minister has been speaking against government's capping of the NHIS funds.
The kidney failure, the liver failures, even some diseases, every country controls its own destiny, so to speak. So let's have a national conversation, look at the funding of health insurance, and the finance minister has no business capping the NHIS because it's unconscionable. And then finally, those who are making informal payments in the system, they should be brought to the table to be re-examined and then formalize them. And then finally is that we should look at another way of even adding additional income. Because everybody is saying that let's fund this. They are looking at the benefit side, but they are not looking at the revenue side. So if we do that, we will not be running a health insurance system.
Exciting times here at Multimedia's Joy Prime's most talked about culinary battle for kids is back. It's season 3 of Big Chef, where little chefs with big dreams, armed with, of course, aprons and creativity, compete in the culinary arena where imagination knows no boundary. The opportunity is here for your kids to take part in the season's competition, and a host of Big Chef, Michelle Ejekum, and winner for last season, Fudaila Abbas, joining us in studio. Of course, giving some light to the studio as well. So it's good to have you here, and of course, congratulations. You won last year, correct? How is it feeling? How are you feeling now, knowing you are the reigning champion for now?
I feel sad that it's ending, but...
Oh, it's ending. Your reign is ending. Then you should be back in the competition.
Yes, but...
How has it been for you, after you won?
It was okay. I went back to my normal life, which is schooling, and I'm still in school, so hopefully when I'm done, you'll see more from me.
I see, and there'll be more cooking as well. Michelle is also here. Michelle, what should we expect knowing that we're moving into season 3?
Well, season 3, like I keep saying, is a plus of what we saw last year. And yes, last year, Fudela's team was spectacular. But this time around, as we've opened the opportunity, or we've given the opportunity for interested persons to, vibe by sending their videos to us to join this season, I'm hoping that we're able to get people who can actually beat...
Yeah. No one is beating her record.
No. I mean, to beat their creativity, because it was really beautiful seeing the kind of recipes they came out with. She, in particular, made something with Indomie. During the Indomie challenge, what did you make?
I made Indomie choco pudding.
Oh, what's that, by the way?
It was Indomie that I made it into a pudding form.
Oh.
So it was like a dessert.
I see. We should be trying more of that here.
Are you sure you can try that? Because it really didn't look like I want to try it.
Anyway.
But when you try it tasted so good, and you're marveled. You're like,
and that's what's amazing about this program, because you're unearthing the talents, the creativity that we see in the kids. We saw the tertiary edition.
Yes.
So with this one, are you going back to the original plan just for kids, or how?
Yes, this time around is the kids edition.
Oh, so the tertiary guys are...
No, their time is out.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we'll come back to them later.
Okay. So how can one be a part of this? What do they need to do?
Yes, so to be a part of Big Chef Season 3, all you need to do is to record yourself cooking your favorite meal, serve it nicely, and then you send to our WhatsApp number 055.
So you send the video?
Yes, you send the video to our WhatsApp number 055 157 5757. Yes.
That's all you need to
That's all you need to do. They went through the same process, isn't it?
Yes. Do you recall what you did just to get nominated?
Banku with pepper and broad mackerel.
No wonder. With Banku, everyone loves it. Okay, is there any message you'd want to share with other aspiring people who want to be like you, who want to become winners of the Big Chef? What would you say?
My message is follow your dreams.
Right.
Don't hesitate to chase your dreams and don't listen to anybody.
Yeah.
What you want to do, go for it.
And cook good food as well.
Yes.
We need to add that one.
Yes.
Michelle, any more information, something we need to know about what's unique also about season 3, because this is the 3rd season that we're looking at.
Yes, I wouldn't want to give away every detail, but all I want to promise...
You never know, Fudela may be the judge for season 3.
But all I want to tell parents watching is that, look, allow your kids. If you have a kitchen maestro at home, you know that, look, this child of mine is very good at cooking. This is an opportunity for them. And so allow them to join, and then, look, they will not come home the same. I'm sure Fudela can attest to the fact that though she knew how to cook, after being part of the competition, she's also had some additional skills to what she
there's
already
also training
knows.
opportunities.
Yes, that you don't see on screen.
Yeah.
But before they do get on screen, they have a personal, interaction with our judges who are chefs.
Oh.
Yes, so they learn one or two things from them. Yeah, before they come to do what they already know.
It's exciting times. I feel like being a part of this, but I just can't do this now. Michelle, thank you for joining us. So November 14, right? That's
November 14th is yes, that's a new deadline. And so please, if you snooze, you lose. So please don't snooze. Yeah. Don't at all. Just make sure that you have your award. Send their videos, or you can do that on their behalf, and then allow them take up this challenge.
Adela, don't worry. No one will take your spot. Right? You're still on top as the big chef. But thanks, Michelle, for joining us as well. And that's all we have for you in this package of the polls. Don't forget to be on the lookout for Big Chef Season 3. It's coming up on Joy Prime. But that's all we have for you here on the show. And let's just log on to myjoyonline.com. More updates there for you. Thanks for your time. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.